Hey, what's up you guys, and welcome back to Off the Beaten Coast. It's a really weird time. I just lost my job due to coronavirus, and now I'm back living with my parents for a couple of weeks. I'll stay here and then eventually move on somewhere else when I get a little bit more settled and hopefully find a job. But in the meantime, I have just been trying to keep myself as busy as possible, get out of the house as much as possible, keep sane, keep fit. And of course sticking to the regulations that the government set for us in regards to like isolation and only leaving the house for essential supplies or fishing or exercise. So I've definitely been doing that. I'm here in this tiny little island all by myself. I haven't seen anybody else except for my parents in like days. So I'm getting a little bit cabin fevery in the house. So just getting out as much as possible. In saying that, I've been doing heaps of diving as well. Yesterday I went out and I had a great day in the water. The visibility wasn't that great, but I still got in anyway, and there was plenty of fish around. Nothing too amazing, like there wasn't any super big fish or anything that I was super excited about, but I did manage to shoot this awesome parrotfish. It was blue bar parrotfish, and they were one of the best eating fish on the reef. They got this beautiful white flesh, they're super easy to fillet, full bodied, so there's heaps of meat on them as well. And they just lend themselves really well to like pretty much everything. It's like just really good meat. So I shot one of them, I shot a handful of flathead, I got a drummer as well. I made some curry for my parents at home, and we've been living off the fish for the last couple of days, which has been really nice. And I also used the fish frames, I've put the crab pots in, and got a couple of mud crabs as well, which I'll show you guys later on. We'll cook up a little fried rice or something with those. But in the meantime, I'm going to show you guys how to make one of the best and easiest fish sandwiches ever. I'm going to show you guys how to crumb fish properly. I'm going to show you how to make a really nice little sauce and just treat fish really well. It's like so easy to screw it up. And I think because fish and seafood isn't that accessible to so many people, that it can be really daunting to cook, and like it can be really easy to screw it up if you don't know what you're doing. So I'm going to show you guys how to crumb a piece of fish really beautifully. I'm going to make a sandwich out of it, and it's going to be so good. But I'm going to chuck a line in while I am doing some cooking. I've got this beautiful little island, got my little kitchen set up here. Borrowed Dad's little tinny. Look at this, not bad. There is the Gold Coast over there. And yeah, all by myself. So this recipe is an absolute cinch to make. All I've got here: fresh fish, flour, panko breadcrumbs. I've got a couple of eggs. I've got some chili sauce. I'm not huge on this, but that was all I could find at the moment. Bit of Kewpie sriracha mayo and an iceberg lettuce. Now, literally, the most important part of this is getting the fish crumbed properly. I'm going to take this out here. And again, this is this beautiful parrotfish I got yesterday. Look at that, super white flesh, beautiful and clean, nice fillet. So first things first, I'm gonna prep my fish. I want this to fit perfectly onto like a regular white piece of bread. I'm gonna chop that in half there. Make sure my knife is clean. I reckon that's about good. And then that's gonna be my piece there. I'm gonna crumb that whole piece. So that can go back in the bag. Save that for later. Then, got just a bag of plain white flour. The fish goes straight into there. Give it a shake up. You really want to press that flour into the fish. Make sure there's a nice coating on there. And the reason that we do flour, egg, then crumbs is because what you want to do is give the egg something to stick to. So if you put the egg straight onto the fish, it's going to become sort of like it's two slippery surfaces trying to combine. So essentially what you want to do is put something that can hold the egg in between that. So fish, flour, egg, then crumbs. So that's good there, it's beautifully coated. You can see it's all in those cracks nicely as well. That can go aside. Now, I'm gonna get an egg. Just one egg will probably do. I don't think I can mix this. Stick. I'll do. Now I just want to mix up that egg, make sure it's nice and incorporated, make sure the yolks are mixed through the whites nicely. Do. Fuck, it's so hot. And then I'm gonna stick my fish into the egg, make sure it's nicely coated, make sure it's really sort of sticking to that flour, and you can see that's good. So that can sit there for a minute. I need some paper towel to wipe this egg off of me. Sweet. Next part is the Panko Crumbs. Alright. Now this part is also really important. What I'm going to do is I'm going to crush up these Panko Crumbs and sort of get them nice and fine. When they come out of the packet like this, they're just a little bit too thick, like the grain is just a little bit too coarse. So what we're going to do is literally just get your hand in there, crush it up, and make sure it's nice and fine. And all that fine sort of, that fine crumb is going to fill all the holes, and it's not going to leave any spots where fish isn't coated properly. Beautiful. That's done. Next I'm going to get my oil nice and hot. So I've just got regular rice bran oil. Rice bran is my favorite to cook with because it doesn't have any aroma. It doesn't taste bad. It's not likely to go rancid, and it could also withstand high temperatures as well, which is really good. I'm just going to get this going. Lock it, pop it, fire's going, put the lid back on, and that's going to get nice and hot. Now we want these crumbs to get really nice and brown, and we also want it to happen quite quickly. So we're going to get the oil hot, not to the point where it's smoking, otherwise it'll burn the crumb, but just to the point where it's like you can dip something in there. Actually, I'll just show you. Makes sense. So fish is ready to go. It's been coated in that egg. I'm just going to give it one more lashing, and then straight into the crumb. Flip it. Now I really want to press that fish. I really want to press those crumbs into the fish. A lot of what I see people do is they'll crumb the fish and they'll just do this and then they'll start cooking it. But you can see here, there's actually a lot of gaps and spaces of fish that aren't coated properly. So I really want to press these crumbs into the fillet. I don't want to like squish the fish or anything, not that firm, but I want to make sure that there's a nice coating on there. Make sure all edges are coated. And you want to use the finer crumbs to fill the gaps that the bigger crumbs are sort of taken up, if that makes sense. So that is a beautifully coated piece of fish. Now that can just hang out there for a minute until that oil's nice and hot, and then we're going to start frying. Right at the start of my day the other day, I came face to face, like eye to eye, with these two beautiful dolphins. I was out the front, just out the front of the spit here in the Gold Coast, and I was waiting for the tide to come in a little bit so the water could clear up, and I was hanging out at the front. There was a bit of bait fish, I was flicking some lures and stuff, and this mother and baby dolphin came so close to me. Oh my god, my boat's floating away. This mother and baby dolphin came right up to the side of the boat. They were super curious, they were hanging around, and they came right up beside the boat, and like it was literally like I was eye to eye with them. It was so beautiful. Check it out. How sick is this? Then, right after that, I suited up, I jumped in the water, and I was greeted by this beautiful Hawksbill turtle. Hawksbills are like one of the prettiest ones. They've got this really beautiful pattern on their shells. He was quite small, probably only about 30 to 40 years old. And just like swimming with turtles is one of the most amazing things because they're usually so carefree. Like you can swim right up to them, you can like get quite close to them, and they're often quite curious as well. So I had a little play with him. I sort of didn't disturb him too much, and I sort of hung with him for about a minute, ran out of breath, and then he was gone. But it was amazing. Have a look. Then right after my sea turtle encounter, I got to meet this beautiful leopard shark. Now leopard sharks are my absolute favorite sea animal of all time. They have been ever since I was a kid. They're this beautiful long shark. They live on the bottom usually. You'll often find them cruising around at the top or in the middle water. And they're like this tan yellow color, beautiful spots, massive long tail, and they're entirely harmless. Like these things feed on like clams and crabs and little worms and stuff that they can find on the bottom of the ocean. And they're super docile. You can get up to them. You can sort of like, I try not to touch animals as much as I can, but I absolutely couldn't help myself yesterday. It was just so beautiful. It was an amazing encounter, and I was so grateful. I just can't get over it. I still can't get over it. It's so good. Now, my oil is probably coming up to temperature shortly. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drop a couple of these crumbs in there, and you can see that they're like instantly bubbling up. They're instantly frying. So that means my oil is good to go. I can smell it. I can see the little ripples in the oil. So I'm going to put my piece of fish in. I'm going to give it another once over, make sure that everything's nice and coated, and drop it straight in. Now I don't need to worry about this oil being too hot at the moment, because that fish is actually going to draw a lot of temperature out of the oil, so it's going to cool it down quite quickly. So what I want to do is just make sure that it's nice and coated, it's holding its form. Draw back the temperature a little bit. That smells so good already. Now this isn't a super thick piece of fish. This is probably like 1.5 centimeters thick maybe. So I want to keep that going in there just for a couple of minutes. It's not going to take long, and then as soon as I take it out, it's also going to have time to rest as well. So I'm going to let it sit on some paper towel, let it rest, and because of the outside temperature is obviously quite hot, it's going to cook the inside as well. So I don't want to leave it in for too long and overcook it. Now that is frying so nicely. It actually looks perfect. I'm going to give that about 10 more seconds and then it's good to come out. I reckon she's good to go. Oh my god, my paper towel. Wait. Okay, we're good. I can chill up there. Look at that. Super firm, nice and crispy. Turn my oil off. Now at this point it's still nice and hot. I'm going to get a generous sprinkling of salt straight over the top, and then also I'm going to get some of this little seasoning rub that I have. It's just like a spice mix, I guess. It's quite nice, and let's put that on top as well, and that is absolutely divine. Look at that. Now that's going to sit and cool for a couple of minutes while I get my sandwich ready, and because otherwise I don't want to bite it and it's going to be like burning hot. I want it to be really nice, so gonna let it chill out for a couple of minutes. Gonna sort myself out here, get myself a drink, and she'll be bueno. It is go time. We got a, this is like, okay, this bread here, this is just plain Wonder White regular sandwich bread. This is absolutely what you want. You don't want any fancy sourdough. You don't want anything like, nothing crazy. Literally just tip top, Wonder White, whatever, that bread. Then get your iceberg straight on there. Get your monstrous pieces of fish straight on top. Ooh, bit of lamb. Oh my god, I can smell this, and it is. Now give me chili sauce. Ooh. Oh, didn't need that anyway. Oh, get fucked. Oh my god, not that much. Okay, don't usually put that much, but should be right. Mix around. A bit of sriracha mayo. This is going to be the sandwich of your life. Let me get my knife there. Pop you down for a tick. I'm going to cut this open. Now, look at that. This will literally be the best sandwich you have ever eaten in your life. Look at that fish, cooked perfectly, so white. I'm going to get a bit of extra. Just actually take a minute to have a look at that. Oh my god. It's the best sandwich I've ever eaten in my life. Oh my god. It's sensational. A bit more lemon. If you were going to make this at home, I reckon using a nice white piece of reef fish, like using some sort of snapper would be really good. Mangrove jack, You might be able to get away with using barramundi, but I don't really like barramundi that much. You could even use like things like flathead, whatever, and that'll work perfect. But just make sure it's a nice white fish. Make sure you get that beautiful crispy coating on there, and just heaps of chili sauce and lemon. Change your life. It's so good. Oh my god.